You know what my problem is? You know what my problem is? I don't. Good. Hey, what's going on, man? Pleasure to meet you.
He's their manager for the whole DDS squad.
Okay, awesome.
You guys want to do some first?
Yeah, if they have some free time, I know they're talking to
Oh, yeah, the other guys are just kind of sitting around.
Okay.
They're gonna train at 145, but if you want to get them, is there anyone specific you?
No, it doesn't matter. Just basic general questions, nothing super crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Let me
More probably you know how they started and stuff like that than you know what their predictions on the fight.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see.
All right, cool, man. How many guys did you recognize there? Did you recognize anybody?
Rumble.
Okay, is he here already?
Yeah, but he's eating.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, cool. Hey, so we run a local podcast called Jiu Jitsu Dummies, and basically we just talk about basics, right? How people got started, what they find beneficial in sport to them, and where you see yourself going in the near future.
Okay.
That's really what we're looking for.
Okay, so pretty much, man, how I got started was I started at a small school called South Jersey Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and man, I pretty much worked my way up the ranks. You know, that was a school run by a Ricardo Almeida black belt, and Ricardo was under Enzo Gracie. So you know, I did like pretty much my first honestly 6 months. I was jumping for around the schools in the Enzo Gracie Association. So I would do I remember my second week of jiu-jitsu at South Jersey BJJ. Got the invite to go train at Tom the Glasses. So I went up there, started going there like 1 or 2 days a week for a couple of weeks, and then finally got the invite to go to Ricardo's. Did the same thing, went there for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, like Monday, Friday for a couple of months, and then finally I got a private with Gordon. After a private with Gordon, he was like, bro, come here as much as you can, and his history, bro, I want to say maybe 11 months I've been at Enzo Gracie. I've been training there like 3-4 times a week, and now for about 2 months I live there. I've been living there now, so every day, 7 days a week I'm there.
What do you think is the most important part of your training? Is it drills? Is it live sparring? Is it the conditioning aspect of it?
It is the. I mean, aside from learning from John, literally the best jiu-jitsu coach there is. It's our training partners. Like we have blue belts, purple belts, and brown belts that will go into any other school and sub their black belts. Like it sounds far-fetched, but man, that's what we have. Like every round that we have, even our hobbyists, they're so intelligent. They know how to move the right way. Might not be like super superior athletes, but they're so knowledgeable that they're really hard to fucking roll with. So each round that we have in Enzo Gracie, the blue basement, is fucking tough, man. Like we get no breaks,
Tell me the age bracket there. Are they just young kids? Are they under 25?
No, dude, I mean, honestly, we'll have guys that are young, like 17, 18, all the way up to mid 50s, sometimes older. And those guys that are older, they've been around for a long time. They've been under John for fucking 20 years. So it's like, they're really seasoned and they know their stuff, man. They're really hard to deal with. I think that's like having tough rounds every round goes a long way, man. Like I remember my first role in the blue base with Gordon. He was like, bro, like you just can't take breaks. Every round's gonna be tough. If you're taking breaks, you're gonna fall behind.
Yeah. What about man? Something threw me off, man. Most beneficial information that you can give somebody starting, whether it's wrestling, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's any sport. What would you say that is?
I would say find out if you want to be a professional athlete or you just want to be a hobbyist. Completely different level of commitment. You can be a hobbyist, you can have fun and train jiu-jitsu all the time and just be content with being decent at it. But then if you want to be the best in the world, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to train every day, you have to lift every day. You have to be, it's really just that consistency, you know what I mean? Like anything in life you want to be successful, and you can be successful, but you have to be there all the time. You have to be doing it all the time. You have to be studying, you have to be practicing. So to anybody that wants to be a professional athlete or just wants to have certain type of success in any route that they're taking, consistency is going to get you.
That's the key, right? That's the magic.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the magic detail that people are looking for
every day.
Where do you see yourself in the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
I could see this sport the next 5 years growing substantially. I think the next couple 80cc's are going to blow you guys out of the water. I mean, the last year's 80cc was a truly expectable. Like it was more so an Olympic tournament than it ever has been, and the years to come is just going to be even bigger and more respectable. And I think honestly, man, in the 5 to 10 year mark, I can see this sport. You know, maybe we go mainstream. You know, maybe we get on Fox Sports. Maybe we hop on ESPN. We're building so much momentum, and it's like we're still an underground sport, but you can go anywhere in the world and we have fans and pictures with us. You know what I mean? And it's not like you have like an Instagram people that have social media presence, but they just have followers. They don't have fans. You know what I mean? So for us to be as popular as we are at the beginning stages of this sport, essentially, is it's a big deal, and it's really shining light on the future.
What made you come out to this SubStars event?
Well, they pay well. That's a free trip to Miami, bro. You can't complain.
Take it, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy the beautiful weather?
Yeah, the beautiful weather, the women here, you know, you can't beat thongs, bikinis, and sunshine. So,
honesty, man. Honesty. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful here, man. SubStars has always been good to me, so, you know, they call me, I'll be there.
Okay. And you did a seminar yesterday, right?
I did, yeah.
Little Shed?
Yeah, little last minute seminar. I hit him up hit Coach Shem like 2 days ago. He's like, yeah, we'll make it work. We had a couple people to swing by. I was just like, yeah, we have to train anyway. Might as well teach a little bit. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So now I'm at the level where every time I have a competition, I plan a seminar, you know, a couple weeks, a month or so in advance. Yeah, man, it's fun. It's so many opportunities and so many people you can meet in this sport. That where like if you're competing a lot and you're kind of you kind of a celebrity in the sport, you know, pretty easily if you just be consistent in your competition and your training. Man.
Not to give away any of your magic, but what position, what move do you see yourself mastering the most?
Well, I have to master the rear naked choke first. You know, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at getting there. I'm getting better at finishing. But to say, you know, that to be a master just takes such a long time, man. You know, I want to get that down first, to where I say, as soon as I get to your back, you know, there's nothing.
It's done. It's over, right?
Which
no other feeling, right?
I'm definitely progressing towards that.
Yeah.
And then after that, you know, I wanna master that little gray area between jiu-jitsu and wrestling, where it's like the transitional pivotal moments where like the bottom guy is standing up and the top guy is going on the bottom.
Yeah.
Those little transitional moments are really going to be key to winning matches in my style.
Yeah, I have a friend that says success is in the gaps. So it's that gap that you're looking for, where that guy, you know, he's not sure what he's doing, and you just take advantage of that.
It's the gray area, man.
That's it. Awesome. Nicky Rod, thank you so much, brother. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Right in on time. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
You're gonna go nap before the event, but I mean, 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's do that. So Gordon, tell me about yourself. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what got you into jiu-jitsu. And the all-around sport of wrestling, right? Submission wrestling.
Okay, yeah. You know, I'm Gordon Ryan originally from New Jersey. Now I'm living in New York, training at Penfield Gracie Academy in New York City with John Danaher. What got me into jiu-jitsu is actually a really funny story. I used to go to this daycare center, and the guy who was our teacher never really did any martial arts or trained like a basketball player. But he used to watch UFC, and he would like listen to Joe Rogan commentate moves. And he would like come into the daycare, and he would show us like submissions. He's like, here, like here's a kimura, here's an arm bar, here's a choke, and he's like, give it a try. So we would like drill these moves as kids in the daycare, and he'd be like, all right, well now you have to do it. So like we'd just all circle up and we'd fight each other. Like we'd have like grappling matches in the daycare. So I did this from like the ages of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 to 12, 13. And then I was shopping one day with my mom, and I saw like a jiu-jitsu school owned by Ricardo Almeida's, one of Ricardo Almeida's brown belts at the time. And I started training there at 15, and then ever since then I've just been, you know, in love with, you know, I was always in love with, you know, fighting and combat sports. But you know, after I started training, it was pretty much all history from then. Okay.
Now, how have you benefited from the sport? What have you learned? How has it helped you grow?
I mean, jiu-jitsu overall just gives you a lot of confidence. You know, not really fearing like everyday problems. Like you know, how you're going to handle your bills is not really a big an issue when you have to worry about someone trying to break your arm every day.
Yeah.
So it just gives you an overall confidence in life and kind of helps you deal with, helps you problem solve a little bit better, I would say. And you know, for me, it's I made my career off this. I based my life around jiu-jitsu. So you know, for me, it's pretty much my entire life.
Yeah. So what do you want to give back to the sport in the long run? Like, you know, at the end of the day, when they remember Gordon Ryan, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be remembered?
Well, you know, it's my personal legacy as an athlete that obviously I want to build, and I want to be, you know, by far the most accomplished submission grappler of all time. And then just you know, giving back, I want to push the sport forward. I want to you know, we make the instructional, teach seminars. I want the overall level of the sport to increase from where it's at now, because I believe that the sport's very young, so the overall technical level in the sport is pretty low relative to other sports like wrestling or judo. Like for example, once you get like out of the top 10 guys in each weight class, the skill level drops off drastically. Whereas if you look at a sport like judo, like Japan has 10 guys that are all like Olympic level guys, like just on one team. Never mind just the whole world. So the overall level, I think, I want to try to increase that in the sport by just sharing what we've discovered, and getting the sport to a position where athletes can actually make real money competing. And no, you don't have to own a gym in order to make a living. You don't have to have sponsors. Where athletes should just go out and compete once or twice a year and make, you know, enough money to live. $200, $300, $400, $500, $1 million.
What do you think? How can we infuse jiu-jitsu, wrestling, you know, the submission aspect of the sport into our society better? You know, do we need to get kids started at a younger age? Because, you know, you see karate schools, they're still around, right?
I think you need to build athletes to be submission hunters. I think is the main thing. If you look at boxing, what does everyone want? Everyone wants to see knockouts.
Yeah.
So in our sport, submissions are the equivalent to knockouts in boxing. No one wants to see people going out and fighting for advantages. That's not exciting. So you have to be exciting in one way or the other, either on the mats or off the mats. Notoriously, guys like Floyd Mayweather has skills to back up what they say, you know, in the ring or on the mat, whatever the case is. But he's also exciting outside the mat. Like McGregor has the skills to actually beat people inside the cage, but he's very entertaining outside the cage. So he needs to be entertaining in some way, whether it's outside the cage or mat, or inside the cage or mat or ring or whatever, you know, wherever you're fighting. And people who are most remembered are people who have both, who have the skills to actually perform and are exciting outside the mat as well.
Yeah. So tell me about We Defy. How does Gordon Ryan and We Defy, how's that puzzle come together?
Honestly, I met some cool guys in Reno that I did a seminar for, and you know, they're a big part of this foundation called We Defy. And I've always been, you know, for helping veterans, for getting veterans back into the swing of things, and you know, they go out and they fight to, you know, protect us. So I'm more than happy to help those guys out. Like for this event, I think we're giving 100% of ticket sales to the We Defy. I was out in Reno a few months ago and I taught a seminar, like a last minute kind of seminar. I just showed up and it was like a foundation, or it was like a fundraiser where it was like open mat. People just showed up and they donated to We Defy, and I showed up. I showed a few moves here and there. So anything I can do to help these guys out is easy enough for me.
So as a vet myself, I became an ambassador for We Defy not that long ago in an effort to try to spread the word down here in South Florida and make it grow like in other states, right? So have you found, what's the best part of that We Defy organization that you see it helping veterans with?
You know, I think Jiu-Jitsu is a really good tool to be able to kind of almost distract you from whatever problems you have in your life. Like some days, like you can feel like your life is falling apart, and then you go into Jiu-Jitsu and
forget about all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, someone's trying to, you know, someone's jumping side to side trying to pass your guard, someone's trying to choke you, someone's trying to, you know, break your leg. Like all of your problems have to go away because you have to deal with the immediate danger to your life that's happening right now. So I think it's a great way to kind of, you know, block out all of your problems for that 1 to 2 hour block every day, and that makes a big difference. It kind of relieves a lot of stress and puts you in a good place.
Awesome. Tell me about yourself. I know you're competing on the card as well.
Yes. Well, I'm Natalia Santoro. People know me as Hey Sunny. I don't do jiu-jitsu for too long. I started jiu-jitsu like 4 years ago.
Okay.
With these guys, Danaher at Hansel Grace Academy in New York too. So since I'm a white belt, I train with these guys and the way they train. So the jiu-jitsu I know is the jiu-jitsu they taught me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I had 4 competitions like in a big stage.
Okay.
So I'm getting more comfortable right now.
Sure.
Very different the level than Gordon, of course, but
But you're traveling with monsters,
Yeah.
right? You're traveling with Gordon, you're traveling with Nicky, right? So
travel everywhere with them, teaching seminars everywhere, recording instructional. So and every single day around with these guys. So I feel like I must try to also to compete, in the same level, because all I do is being around these guys all the time. I train Gordon, for those who don't know, and give diet plan, and
Okay.
I just take care of his nutrition and health. So I'm literally 24 hours with him.
Fantastic.
So I feel like I might as well just try
Might as well
jiu-jitsu,
train, right?
yeah, as a professional athlete too, because that's what I do every day.
And how have you found jiu-jitsu to help you? Do you find it that you find the love in jiu-jitsu? You found it already?
I really did. Yeah, it's also frustrating because it's still very hard for me. Sometimes you feel like you know everything, like you're getting good, and some other days you feel like, oh my god, I don't know nothing at all. What are you even doing here? It's just so frustrating. Before jiu-jitsu, I used to be a bodybuilder, so
Okay.
I'm a professional bodybuilder for about 10 years.
Okay.
And that that lifestyle is very different. It's more a quiet lifestyle, an isolate lifestyle. We have a lot of restrictions. You cannot be sitting around here and go eat lunch with your friends. You have everything. Your diet is different. Your time, everything is more selfish.
Sure.
So I isolate myself for a long time, for literally 10 years. With bodybuilder, which was great, but then after a long period, I got so tired and frustrated. I was like, I need to meet people. I need to be around people. And jiu-jitsu is this big community, right? It's
That
a big family.
People that want to strangle you and try to break your arm.
But
right?
then after that, after all, they are friends,
Sure. At the end of the
that's-
day, right? It's a big family.
So I like that. It's like we are trying to kill each other at that moment, but after that, we kind of trust each other, because that trust that you can hurt me, but you won't hurt me. And then after that, we shake hands and you go out to eat something, to have a lunch or something. That type of thing, it was missing in my life when I was doing bodybuilding, and that's what I think the jiu-jitsu brought to me.
Let me ask you, because we've had this question posed to us before, training with a different sex partner, right? How do you guys manage that? Do you find that a little intimidating, or you just looking to learn? Or Gordon, how do you feel when you're, potentially not pressure passing, but you are significantly heavier than Natalia, and if you guys are training together, how do you manage that?
Believe it or not, I actually prefer, she's like my main drilling partner. Like when we go to Henzo's, we have to drill moves, at the beginning of class, she's my main partner. She's who I work with most. Number one, just because I'm lazy, I don't like to move heavy guys. I don't like to move heavy guys around.
Makes sense.
And number two, because when you're drilling with someone smaller, you have to be every movement has to be more precise, so you don't off balance here or do something wrong and hurt them there. So everything has to be very precise when you're moving around. And when we train together, it's more about for me, obviously. For me, it's more about handicapping myself, because obviously it's not just with her; it's with anyone smaller or anyone not as good as me, which nowadays is most people. But it's about putting myself in bad positions. Maybe she gets to my back and I let her put me in a fully locked back triangle or fully locked arm bar, and I try to roll out. Maybe I'm putting myself in fully locked heel hooks and trying to come forward and fight the hands. So it's more about handicapping myself and working on things that I need to work on. For example, I have one dominant side with arm bar escapes. One side I can roll out much better than the other side. So maybe it's about forcing her to pick one arm and to try to work on things that I need to improve. So for me, it's mostly about with females and with people who are a lot smaller than me. It's all about handicapping myself.
How about you, Natalia? How do you feel rolling with Gordon? How does that different in size affect you?
It does. It's very tiring for sure, and also Gordon does everything so precisely. But also he's a good teacher, so he knows how to make things difficult for me in a way that I can figure out and find a solution for that problem. He kind of addressed me if I'm doing something wrong or something I don't know, completely the nonsense. He would just, without saying anything, he just adjusts the problem and he kind of bring me to do what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sure.
And also as he say about the technique, the submissions, it's allowed me to work with my perfection on my submissions. I am very confident if I get someone's back or if I get someone's heel. My finish mechanics are pretty good because I train with them all the time.
You almost there? You almost got him?
When he allows me, yes. But it's hard.
It's tight heel hooks.
Okay. Let me ask you, how about women? Women in the sport. How can we get the sport to grow and for women to see the value in it and just open that door?
With women, personally, I feel a little tricky still. Even in the gym, we have our training partners, our friends. Women's are different because they get a little emotional, they get a little personal, when you try to do some, guys will try to kill each other, but after all, it's just training.
Yeah.
For women, they kind of bring to the personal level. They kind of feel like, like after all, you feel a little uncomfortable. So I feel like to have the mindset a little bit more open about this is a sport, we have to be able to understand that on the mats you have to do what you have to do to work, and you need the other partner to be able to grow also.
Sure.
And after that, everybody's also family so try to, because women are always try to compete with each other, no matter what, your hair, your nails, everything. So in Jiu-Jitsu, it's not different.
Yeah, I have 2 daughters, so I kind of,
so I feel like, if you try to be more welcoming, if you try to be more professional and say, listen, let's do like the boys, we'll train, we'll kill each other. After that, that's how it is. That's you can be ego. That's how I think the sport will grow more. Also, social media helps a lot. That's a lot of course it needs, and we need to have that type of fight on social media. It's healthy for the sport. But women should also support more each other. When you win, you don't see other girls much posting about, this girl won because she's part of one federation, on one team. If we want to grow this sport in a women's division, in my opinion, we should support more each other. Try to listen, she won, that's great. That was something more. We use social media for more than just making fun or be sexy. I think that's the way I see it.
Awesome. Hey, lastly, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about this SubStar promotion? What brought you, or did you have any second thoughts when you received that SubStar contract to come and compete?
No, I'm always the kind of guy who's pretty active. For me, I like to compete as often as I can for a couple of reasons. Number one, just because I like being active. I don't like going long amounts of time, months at a time, where I don't compete, because then I feel like a little bit rusty when I have to go back to compete. So if I'm just constantly pushing myself to be uncomfortable and to hop onto a stage in front of thousands of people, it makes a big difference for me. That's why I wanted to do, even before ADCC, I hurt my knee, and I wanted to do that kinetic tournament before ADCC just to get back into the swing of things. So I like to stay active. Number two, just having my brand in people's face constantly. Gordon Ryan just signed this contract, Gordon Ryan just this, Gordon Ryan did that. So all of the media outlets are always covering me, and I think it's a big thing for brand building. Number three, obviously, I like to get money. So I like making money. I like showing up to compete. I always teach seminars too, so I get like double dipping. I teach a seminar wherever I'm competing, so it usually works out well. And I get to get out of shitty New York for a weekend or so. So I'm in beautiful Miami.
How's the weather up there right now?
It's pretty cold. It was like I think 19 or something, 18, 19 when we left. So it was cold.
Awesome. How about you, Natalia? What do you think about this promotion?
Well, that was actually very great for me. Thank you so much. I think I just DM. I'll post on my stories. Hi guys, I'm looking forward to have some super fights soon. If anybody's interested, please let me know. And I don't know, I'm not just a blue belt, I'm just started. But they were super nice. Yeah, Ned, let's try to make something happen for you. They were super fast, and let's do it. Let's bring to the card. Why not? Gordon's gonna be there, already. So it's gonna be a fun card for your opportunity. That was great. It worked out really great.
Awesome. We're looking forward to seeing you guys tonight. Natalia, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Gordon, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
All right. All right, you ready?
All right, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Hey, so I'm here with Garry, Jiu Jitsu Dummies. We're going to talk a little bit about himself. All right. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you grew up. How you got into the sport.
Grew up in the jungle, raised by wolves. So I mostly was in South Jersey for like the early parts of my life. I would consider where I am now to be Central Jersey, even though there's many people from Jersey that don't believe Central Jersey exists. But yeah, I was near like Toms River area, probably like 20 minutes south of there, Lanoka Harbor, for like most of my like semi, adolescent life, probably from like 10 years old to like 17 or so. Before that, I lived in Jackson for a bit, actually in a log cabin. A lot of people don't know that. I grew up in a log cabin for the first 9 years of my life. But yeah, man.
So Wolves and Bears is not too far from the street then.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I had like we had like an acre of property. I was out in the woods every day, like building forts and stuff.
Nice.
I remember like digging a pit in my backyard with like throwing thorns in it, thinking I had like a moat of thorns around the outside. That I probably fell in more than anything else did. But anyway, yeah, man. So I grew up in like a lot of people I think associate me with New York now because I train in New York every day with John. But yeah, man, I've pretty much like been in pretty rural areas most of my life. Even until recently, I just moved to Secaucus, or I will be moving March 1st.
Okay.
And I live like directly across the street from a farm right now. So like, yeah, I go back and forth. Jersey's kind of like that, you get a little bit of rural, you get a little bit of urban area. So.
Yeah. So when did you start training?
Started training around 14, 15 years old. A friend of mine from wrestling kind of introduced me to the idea. I actually didn't believe that it existed. Like, I was kind of like skeptical of the whole thing. I kind of like looked at it a little bit like WWE or something, because when he explained it to me, he's like, yeah, it's like wrestling, what we do, except for like you try to break each other's arms and you strangle each other. And I'm like, I don't think that that's like a real thing like that people allow people to do. I'm like, you're a child. Like, somebody lets you try to break somebody's arm? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I didn't really understand the sport. So, and I was mostly raised by my mother. So as far as like combat sports were concerned, like maybe occasionally I'd catch something on television, but I didn't have a lot of like male influence like drawing me. It's like even by then early UFCs were happening and stuff, but I wasn't watching anything because I didn't really know it existed. So maybe I knew a little bit about boxing, a little bit about wrestling. Like I said, I came from that background. Eventually he introduces me to the sport. I show up to a competition. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I talked to my mom about it. She's like, you'll never do that ever. And eventually my friend's dad convinced her, and I kind of started training at one gym for a little bit. Couldn't really get there consistently, and Tom the Blast opened nearby. He's a great guy, really influential coach of mine, especially in my earlier years. And man, I picked it up, and like I just really wanted to come in and give my all. It was the first time in my life I ever dedicated myself like to one thing. I did so many different things in like high school, middle school, whatever, so many different sports. I did baseball, basketball, soccer, track, bowling, any number. I did drama, I sang in musicals and stuff, all different kinds of things, dude. You name it, I probably did it. And it wasn't until I found jiu-jitsu where I was kind of like, hey man, I actually want to try to get good at something instead of just like running around doing all this different stuff. I think it was good to like get that functional background, but when I finally committed myself to one thing, I was like, oh, this is like how you actually get good at something. And I spent all my time doing that, and it was powerful for me, that feeling of dedicating yourself towards a central purpose instead of just being very scattered, which ADHD kind of led me down that path initially, but finally found some focus in my life.
Where do you see yourself in the sport in the next, let's say, a year, 5 years, and 10 years?
Okay. Which sport?
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, in jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Or submission wrestling. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. So, as far as jiu-jitsu and submission grappling are concerned, I've mostly transferred to doing mixed martial arts now. That's my main focus. However, I still see myself during off periods doing grappling bouts. It's becoming much more of a big thing for mixed martial artists to do grappling bouts in between their professional fights. And as that becomes more of a big thing, like I'm very interested in doing it. Obviously, I was supposed to have a match with Dustin Poirier. That was going to be huge, potentially with Colby Covington as well. All these guys, bring a lot of attention to submission grappling, coming from a little bit of a different background, even though each of them have, a kind of a, grappling experience. It's just different, kind of pulling a star from like that different sport and having them do these crossovers, similar to like what Conor did when he went and fought Mayweather, crossing over into boxing and thing. I think it's really good that we're getting this like crossover and mix of sports and mix of audiences for people to get a little bit more experience with something that maybe they wouldn't have been familiar with otherwise. So that's really cool. But I see myself continuing to do that, trying to do these grappling matches. As far as like my goals and things like that and grappling matches are concerned, I'll still be looking for big super fight stuff that's meaningful to me, whether it's a tough guy from the UFC, whether it's a tough match from an experienced jiu-jitsu guy. I'll look to do either one of those. That's anything that helps cement my legacy as one of the greatest submission grapplers of all time, I'm in. As far as like tournaments and things are concerned, I still have ambitions of winning ADCC one day. So far I've only gotten to bronze. I got fourth the year before that, or the 2 years before that, and then I got bronze recently. So I'm working my way up. We're getting there.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll see a gold medal one day in my near future for submission grappling. But other than that, man, just trying to defeat the most difficult opponents and the most notable opponents that I can, again, to cement that legacy. It's a little weird, like, we only have like a couple different organizations people see as
top tier.
This is the top tier, right? Like they look at like kind of IBJJF and the GI, and then they look at like ADCC. So it's like only really those two things that you see, but there's so much more than that going on in the grappling community. Like if you only paid attention to those two things, you'd be missing a hell of a lot. Like there's so much cool stuff happening with all these super fights and all these different organizations. It's really cool to see our sport do that, because not every sport gets to do that. Like you play tennis, like you play tennis, dude. Yeah. You don't get to participate in 16 different rule sets. You know what I mean? With different organizations and all over the world and things. Well, of course you might get to compete all over the world, but you understand what I'm saying. You get such a different taste and different experience, and you really get to find out like, oh man, like how does this guy do under this points format or submission format, or like how's he going to change his strategy when it's 6 minutes instead of 10 minutes? It's a really interesting thing that we got going on that I really like about our sport. Some people have problems with it, and of course there are, but I love it.
What would you tell a young kid that wants to get into the sport, whether male or female, as far as their decision to do it part-time, do it full-time, commitment level? Because you mentioned something really interesting, which was you found something that you can dedicate all your time to. I think that's where you become the master of whatever it is you're pursuing, right?
Sure.
Just invest all that time. So what would you tell a young kid?
Well, I would say two things. I'm not like upset that I split my time between things early on, because I think that you got to try a lot of different things to really find out like what makes you tick and what you're interested in, what's meaningful to you to actually spend time on. And like you're gonna fail sometimes. Like you're just gonna go out and you're gonna be like, it wasn't for me. Not fail in the sense like you're not good at it. Like everybody's gonna not be good at things.
Yeah. We're not gonna be basketball players, right? I'm 5'7". Sure.
Right. But I think ultimately it's about testing all those different things out and kind of figuring out like, all right, like what's going to be like really worth my time, because initially when I first started doing sports and stuff like that, I had this weird mindset, and I think I got it from Disney movies. I talk about this a lot, where in every in just movies in general, you watch some sort of movie involving sports, and there's a montage that happens somewhere halfway through, and a guy like goes from not being very good at something to all of a sudden being like the best at it in a period, because the movie has to show it in a very short period of time, in a period of like 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, like, this guy's the best in the world at whatever he does, or contending with the best in the world. You're like, oh my God, I can do that. And you can, but it's not going to take 10 minutes. Like, you really do have to dedicate all your time to it. But my brain wasn't wired like that. My brain was like, oh, well, maybe if I pick up this, I'm going to be good at it. I finally found jiu-jitsu, and I started hearing some of the things that Tom said, and I'm like, well, maybe I've never been good or great at something because I haven't actually tried to be great at it. Like, I never really put the effort in to be great. I showed up to baseball practice, but did I ever do anything extra on the side? Like, was I studying anything? Was I really trying to learn extra about it? Was I doing anything more than the average kid that was in it? Of course not. So then why would I expect to be better than average? And once that clicked for me mentally, I was able to shift all my effort into jiu-jitsu, which I did have to find it as something that was appealing and meaningful to me. But still, like, had I switched that gear in anything else, or not anything else, but I could have directed that focus elsewhere, and I think still been relatively successful. But that is very important. You're speaking to like educating somebody who's younger, who's looking to get involved in something. At some point, you're gonna have to make a decision and say, I want to go into this. Like, I want to try this, and like really put your effort into it. If you want to be great at something, if it's just part of the experience, you're just having fun. Have fun, dude. Yeah. There's a lot of things. You don't have to be involved. You don't have to be like a professional athlete to love sports. A lot of us just like play pickup basketball games and things like that. keeps you in shape, keeps you athletic, you know, keeps you happy, you know, keeps your mood stabilized. A lot of good things coming out of that.
Run me through a normal Garry day. What's a normal Garry day look like?
Oh boy, it's pretty similar every day. I have a very full schedule. One of the things with like ADHD is I kind of like always need to like do something. Okay, it's very hard for me to just like sit down and do nothing. Sure, like could I like sit down and like watch some Netflix every once in a while to chill out? I could. You know, I'm not saying I never do that, but I keep my schedule packed so that there's very little time to even really do anything like that. So I wake up in the morning, drive straight to New York, have my first training session, which is usually jiu-jitsu. Go to the next one, which is MMA. I do my sparring. Then I come back. I have to drive another hour and a half back. I go to my school. I start teaching at my school. I have to do all the other responsibilities throughout the day that are involved in being a social media personality and things, you know, posting things for sponsors or making videos and things like that. In addition to the ins and outs of running a business, which is my school, along with an apparel company that I started. I put way too much on my plate, to be honest. This Cash Chicks Championships brand that I got going on. So, I similar to kind of like what I did when I was a kid, I'm still kind of going 1,000 different directions, but kind of all focused around the same general thing, right?
Sure.
Every once in a while, I have to drop some of those responsibilities and go, all right, like what's really important to me? Like I'm gonna have a fight coming up April 17th. I can't announce the opponent yet because they just gave it to me.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have a fight coming up April 17th. Like I'm gonna have to drop some of those responsibilities and just go, all right, we're all in on the fight. Like today we're just training. I'm not worried about whatever social media posts or whatever drama's going on in my gym. I'm gonna have to let somebody else handle it. I have to delegate some responsibility. But that's kind of what goes on for me. You know, I'm scattered. I'm doing a lot of different things, but I love that. Like I love being busy. For a lot of people, they hear about my day and they're like, doesn't that like stress you out and break you down? It's like, yes, but like I live for that.
You need that.
I live for the stress. Like I kind of need, a lot of times I need the stress to even function, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when I pack to go on a trip, I do it in the latest hour because I don't have any like ambition to do it otherwise. I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna pack like 2 days before I'm gonna leave. Why? Like, I don't need to. So like, why am I gonna do it? So, I don't know, man. I like the stressful situations. Maybe that's like what's appealing to me about competition and stuff like that too.
So schedules are important. Is that a mental schedule that you carry, or is that something that you have written out? You write your stuff out for the week, for the day?
So I'm getting better at it, man. You know, I go through ups and downs with how well I do at managing my life. Like I said, with ADHD, it makes things a little bit difficult sometimes because my brain just bounces from thing to thing. So some of the coping strategies that I use for that, I do write things down sometimes and make lists. I try to use my calendar on my phone as much as I possibly can. But even with all of that, like stuff still slips through the cracks. And when I start to realize like, oh man, I'm really starting to let stuff fall through and I'm missing some responsibilities that I really did want to tackle, I go back to like the drawing board and I go, all right, like what can I do differently that's going to help me manage this better? Do I need to just drop some of the responsibilities, which sometimes is realistic. Like sometimes you literally have too much on your plate. Do I need to delegate better? Like do I need to pass that responsibility off to like maybe one of my teammates, one of my coaches, one of my manager? Is there somebody else that could be responsible for this task that I'm trying to take it on and I really shouldn't be trying to take it on? And then the third thing is just like stuff slipping through the cracks because I'm not doing a good job organizing. Like I said, like am I not using my calendar well enough? Am I not like writing things down? Am I not trying to maintain that schedule? So those are kind of the three main things that I would focus around. But I still haven't mastered it, I don't think. I think I could do a lot more. I still have a lot more life development to go as far as like mastering my life is concerned.
Don't we all?
Even at, you know, it's so funny like looking back, like I'm 28 years old now, but looking back at when I was like 17, 18, if I had interviewed myself then, I was so sure of myself and so sure that I had like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna kick ass. Like as soon as I get out of mom's house, like I got this. You know what I mean? Like I got everything under control, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. There's many things that I don't have under control, but I'm trying to learn every day and get better.
Sure. What's your driving force? That's my last question for you. What's your driving force? What do you want to leave as a legacy?
So it's a good question. So I have individual goals that I see as more selfish pursuits that I will attempt to leave some legacy as a singular person. And those, in me, like in my terms, like selfish pursuits, I look at as like my competitive goals. So like being the best in the world in mixed martial arts, or being one of the best, or being the best in the world in grappling, or being considered one of the best, or achieving things in those realms. I look at those as like impactful, but maybe not impactful in the long term. Like, few and far between will athletes truly be remembered for exceptionally long periods of time. Like, you have to be really special as an athlete. And of course, I'm going to try my best to do that.
Sure.
To be remembered for like generations and generations. You know, you can think of a few people, like I'm sure Mike Tyson is going to be remembered for like a really long time. Gordon, for instance, I think is making huge waves. Going to be remembered for a really long time. I think Hodger will be remembered. Like, there are a few people who probably will be able to cement their legacy that way. But even if I was able to do that, and I hope to do it, I still plan on doing it, I still look at that as somewhat less meaningful than like my main goal, which is to just help people in general. Okay, to me, when I look at the world and I look at like what's meaningful and what's going to have an impact over time, my own pursuits, as much as somebody may watch me compete and get inspired or something like that indirectly, it's wishy-washy as to how fulfilled that makes me as a person in terms of my entire life. It's fulfilling on a personal level, but like not for my whole life. For me, I look at like, all right, like what impact am I really able to make on the people around me, the people that I influence on a day-to-day basis, my students, my friends, my family, whatever the case may be. So for me, coaching is much more meaningful than any of the things that I'm going to do competitively. Even if I was a complete failure competitively and I never achieved any of the things that I achieved, I would still look at coaching as the most meaningful thing. And vice versa, even if I was the absolute best in the world, I still look at that as the most meaningful, because I'm going to be able to do that pretty much forever. I can only compete, let's say I manage to compete till I'm 40. I don't know. Maybe you could compete a little bit longer than that. But like at a certain point, like I'm no longer contending with the top people in the world just due to age and age alone. I could teach till I'm 80 if I want to, and probably have something meaningful to contribute until then, as long as I study and do my thing. And I think that will be more impactful for people over time. And that will be hopefully how I cement my legacy. And even if it's not something that like somebody picks up a book and reads about, I'll have had impacts on people's lives, and that will carry over into other people's lives. And it's kind of like that effect where it's just, one person to the next. And that's meaningful to me. Even if it's not like I have, 10 or 12 records in mixed martial arts or whatever the case may be, written down or whatever. That's what makes me tick, if you will. It's like a big part of why I do any of this competitively for MMA and Jiu Jitsu is so that I can one day take those skills and carry them and those experiences and carry them over into students who want to do something similar to me, or even just want to use Jiu Jitsu or MMA as a tool to better their life.
Push and drive them.
Yeah. So that's a big part of why I go out there and test myself, because it's like I know one day somebody's going to want advice from me, and I'm physically able to test myself right now, so let me do it. You know what I mean? If I couldn't do it physically, then maybe I would just focus on coaching altogether right now. But because I can physically go out there, test myself, get as much experience as I can, and then when it's all said and done, and I'm all broken and crippled, I'll do my best to just try to share my experiences with the rest of the world and help them out.
Right. So I said that was the last question. I have one more.
Okay, let's do it.
What's the magic?
The magic.
The magic. What's the magic? What makes everything work?
What makes everything work? I need a little bit more clarification.
What makes it run? What keeps you going?
Me?
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
What keeps you going?
Yeah.
What makes you as good as you are?
Yeah.
What pushes you to come back tomorrow?
Probably gratuitous amounts of caffeine and random encounters with mediocre to ugly women. No.
Gotta keep finding that gem, right? There's one out there.
No, man. Honestly, I felt like I talked a lot about it before with trying my best to influence and help people, and I think that's a big part of it. I definitely think there's probably something to be said for some of the influences that I had around me as a kid, where I looked at those influences and I kind of said to myself, I don't want that to be me. And I think a big part of the extra push that I give to be exceptional in a lot of areas in my life were not just from the positive influences that I had, like looking at like John and Tom and saying like, oh yeah, I really want to be similar or do similar things to that person. But a lot of the negative things that I saw, not just in my life, but in other people's lives, maybe friends, family members, or whatever the case may be, where I kind of looked at what was happening and I said, man, I really just don't want to go down that road, and I don't want that kind of stuff to happen to me. I want to be a different person. So each and every day, I push a little bit harder and a little bit harder to make sure that I convince myself that that will never be me.
So a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work to keep you going.
Sure.
Awesome. Gary, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you compete in the near future. Looking to see who that number, that April fight card is with.
Awesome, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
Nice talking to you.
Ready when you are. Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, let's
So we're here with Luisa. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you train.
Okay, my name is Luisa Monteiro. I am from Brazil, Niterói, Rio de Janeiro. I train at Atos. My professor is André Galvão, and I've been training for 17 years.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so you started when you were
13.
6, 7, 13.
13, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What have you found? What brought you to the sport? What brought you to jiu-jitsu?
I was always fan of sports. My father is a military, and he was always like in good shape, always running, always like working out. My sister as well. So I always had the example in my house, and I always liked that. And I was watching Olympic Games or something like that, see the champions, that their feelings were like making me feel emotional. So I was like, man, I want that, like I think I want this feeling. And then I always knew that I wanted to be an athlete, professional athlete. But I tried many things like handball, soccer, gymnastics, and then when I started training jiu-jitsu, from the first class I fell in love and I never stopped.
What you mentioned that you have some injuries now that are potentially slowing down the amount of training that you do. What would you say to young people in the sport to maybe help prevent injuries in the future?
Yeah, I always say that to my friends that are like from the new generation, that like I used to train a lot. I never thought about that. Like I thought like, okay, this is simple. If I want to be a champion, I have to train a lot. But it's not like that, like you have to do like a smart training. I was always the person that if you call me like, oh, you want to roll, I would roll. Like no matter how
doesn't matter the size,
how much your weight, your size. So now I know that this is not good for me, because I'm smaller than the guy. So now I choose like, no, no, I'm gonna train with you. I train more with the girls now, because when I started training jiu-jitsu, there was no girls on the mat. No girls, just me and a lot of guys. So now I have at Atos like many girls to train. Sometimes I don't even need to train with the guys.
Awesome.
So it's so much better.
That's
so
awesome.
what I would say is like, try to train smarter, and like if you hurt yourself, go check it. Like go to the doctor, try to do physiotherapy, try to do strength training, because I was always the person like, oh, it's okay, I can train tomorrow, okay, I can fight, like I was always the person that
push.
I can do it,
Yeah.
But when we are young, we feel that we can
We're
do
invincible.
anything.
We're invincible.
Yeah. And then when you start getting older, like in your mind you want to do that, but your body is like,
Can't do it anymore,
So
right?
that's my advice. Like,
That's awesome.
Take care.
So, as a female athlete, how would you encourage other female athletes to continue in the sport? How can they benefit from jiu-jitsu?
I think many things, like for your body, like because I know that many girls start like training, even like workout for like your physical looking. And I think jiu-jitsu for me, it's the best thing, like even if I stop training jiu-jitsu and I start like working out, because this happened when I hurt my rib once, and then I was training, like I was working out 1 hour and I was doing cardio 1 hour per day, and I was not like losing weight at all, like nothing was happening. And then when I came back to jiu-jitsu, and then my body started like feeling the same, like even like inside, and I think for your self-defense too, you know, it's important to know how to defend yourself.
Sure.
Nowadays, you see like a lot of, especially in Brazil, like we see a lot of, I don't know how you say here, but feminicídio is like crime
Assaults.
against women. So in Brazil happens a lot. So I think it's important to women know how to defend yourself. And I think it's fun, you know, like it's something that for me it's a meditation, you know, like even if I have a lot of problems when I am on the mat, if you don't focus on what you're doing, you're gonna get
hurt.
smashed, you know.
Yes, it's therapy.
Yeah, so it's therapy. You are there, you are living the present. So I think it's amazing, Jiu-Jitsu.
What legacy do you want to leave for Jiu-Jitsu? What do you want to leave Jiu-Jitsu with? I know you have a lot of gold medals, but what do you want to leave Jiu-Jitsu? What do you want people to remember Luisa for?
For me, was always about. I always heard people saying like, "Oh, girls training, they don't train like the guys. They're not technical as the guys. They're okay, like so now the girl's gonna fight. It's time to go get lunch." I heard that like many times. So then like I decided to start like training more to be like as technical as I could. You know, at my time, like when I started, like I remember that there was no like girls passing guard. You know, no girls like on top. And then I decided to like, oh, I'm gonna play on top, I'm gonna play on bottom, I'm gonna know all the submissions. I want to be the most technical, and not just for the competition, but to show the world that Jiu-Jitsu, female Jiu-Jitsu is technical. It's nice to watch. Another thing like that I want you to leave is like for the girls. Don't use your body or like your beauty to sell in Jiu-Jitsu. I don't like that, you know, like I want to show my Jiu-Jitsu, you know. I don't want to see like, oh, this girl is she's beautiful, so let's call her to make a super fight, or like let's watch and this girl just because she's pretty and she plays Jiu-Jitsu. No, let's watch this girl because she's good in Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, she's talent, you know. Her Jiu-Jitsu is amazing. Look her technique. So for me, that's the example that I want to leave for the new generation.
Okay.
You know.
And then as a black belt for a long time, what was the last thing that you learned? And what's the last thing that you learned that Jiu-Jitsu was a part of?
I think the last thing that I learned was about that what we were saying about like training and like the thing like about like hard training and like too much training.
You have to find a balance.
Yeah, and like I learned too that it's not like because you are like 100% physical prepared that you're gonna win. Jiu-Jitsu, I learned that it's more like in your mind than just your
strength, your technique, and
you know,
you have to use.
I passed through this before in the past. Like I remember to be like, man, I know that no one did what I did. I'm sure that the girls didn't train like I trained, and then I went there and I lost. So I think Jiu-Jitsu is about confidence too. It's about you are like happy or not doing that, you know, like you have to be in the competition and you have to enjoy it.
Sure.
If you train the whole year and then you go there and you see like, I hate that, man, I want to leave, I want to go home, I'm nervous, you know, so you're not enjoying that.
You're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
right?
you're doing the wrong thing. So you have to be there present, like I like that, this is exciting, you know, like this feeling, it's make me feel alive, you know. So I think this was the last things that I learned, and I think not always it's gonna be fair. You know, life. I think with Jiu-Jitsu I learned like life is not fair.
Yeah.
It's not.
Sure.
You know, like you do your best. You have to do your best, but not always it's gonna be fair. So don't complain about that, you know, don't think like, oh, life is so unfair, I'm doing everything. No, like you do everything because you have to do everything, and then if things don't go the way that you wanted, it's okay.
Yeah.
Try another thing.
There's a
Next
lesson.
day,
There's
you
a
know,
lesson
it's
there.
a lesson, you know.
Maybe you forgot to do something,
Yeah,
or
or-
maybe you were too confident, your ego was too big, right?
Or this way is not for you. Maybe for you, for that person it works. For you, it works different. You know, so I think I learned that with Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, awesome. With the SubStar card, what do you think about SubStars as a promotion, and you coming out here to South Florida?
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. A lot of great fights. I think great names. And I never been here in Miami.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, never. So I'm super excited. I'm gonna fight Maggie. She's heavier than me, but like as I said before, I am the person. Maybe they call me because people know that like if you offer me a fight, I will say yes.
Yeah.
You know. And then I try to but ask her at least to drop some weight, you know, because we are not from the same weight. But it's okay, you know. Like I am 31 now, and I think. For me it's different. I want to fight as more as I can, you know, because I know that one day I will have to stop and have kids, and I don't want to have regrets like, man, I should have accepted that fight, you know. No, I want to fight. That's awesome. You know, so I'm really excited for that.
Fantastic. Luisa, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you fight tonight.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.